We're live. So, welcome to Sacred Business Stories. This is our weekly Substack Live, where really we just have an honest conversation about what it looks like to build a business that aligns with your deepest truth. And we're really honored to have my friend Phil Drolet with us. He is a peak performance coach, athlete, spiritual teacher. He's been really dedicated, really since for as long as I've known him, to helping people rise into their highest potential, whether that be physically, mentally, and spiritually. And yeah, just a note about Phil. This is a special interview for me because him and I met at a very kind of pivotal time in my career. I think it was around 2016 or 2017. It was actually right before I think I had launched my first consulting business, and so I was still kind of figuring things out for myself. And he was a source of great inspiration. He actually connected me with a mutual friend of ours, Mark Angelo Coppola, who became my first coach, and it's just a huge part of my story, kind of from where I started to where I am today. And so I have a lot of great gratitude towards Phil for everything that he shared with me. And I've had the honor of spending some time with him on retreat. And yeah, just really happy to have him here. And I know he's been off social media probably for like 7 or 8 years. So we haven't had a chance to really catch up. So I'm really curious to hear how he's been spending that time. And yeah, just to have a cool conversation. So thank you, Phil, for joining us today.
Thank you. Super happy to hear that. And it feels so good to hear you share that because it's just another testament to like when we're just doing good work and being ourselves, like it genuinely touches people and changes lives. And I'm like, oh, it's so cool to hear and feel that. So thank you for expressing it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I'm meeting you right now, Phil, and I'm very excited about this conversation. And at the beginning of our Sacred Business Stories, I always like to uh, remind ourselves and remind our people listening to us, like why we do this. And it's basically for inspiration. Like when we see people doing cool things, like we kind of like give permission to others to give cool things. And when I talk about like cool things, it's that thing that comes from your heart, right? That it's like the
Hmm.
combination of all of who you are. Like we say that sacred business is a combination of your certifications, your diplomas, your life experiences, your victories, but your failures as well, right? And then we
Hmm.
can actually pack that and like, oh, this is how I serve in this world. That's what we call sacred business. So welcome, and I'm honored to have you here.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, just to kind of kick things off, this is really open ended, but I would just love to kind of like, we love to just, it's so often we kind of see where someone is at in the moment and, the fancy picture they put on Instagram or something like this, but we don't know the story of how they got to where they are. And so I would love it if you would just kind of share a bit about your journey from kind of where you got started and to where you are today. And I know right before this, you shared you're kind of going through some pivots of your own even now. And so, yeah, it would just be great to kind of hear a little bit about your story.
Hmm. For sure. And it's always an interesting question because I'm like, oh my God, there's so many things that have happened in my life. What do I tell in 3 minutes? But just to kind of give the high level points, grew up as an athlete here in Quebec, Canada, and was very much on this like work hard to succeed kind of mentality. So when I transitioned into entrepreneurship early in my 20s, I took that same mindset. Like, okay, I might not be the smartest, I might not be the best looking, whatever, but I believe I can work harder than anybody and I can push myself further. Like that was my edge. So I did that and it worked. But after a few years and experiencing some degree of success, kind of realized like, oh, wait, there's a problem to that approach because the price we pay is like our own health and sanity and just well-being. So I think I was 28 at the time and had built a successful personal development company. And from the outside was looking like, wow, I'm living the dream, all that. But I start to wake up every morning with this ball of anxiety in my stomach. Like literally from the moment I would open my eyes, just like anxiety and this feeling of like, oh shit, there's so much to do today. How am I going to handle all this? It's going too fast. It's too much, but I can't stop. And for anybody who's ever experienced that, like it's really rough. And this is like circa 2013, 2014, when this whole conversation about mental health wasn't as advanced as it is today. So one thing led to another, did a couple plant medicine journeys and just realized like I have learned to build success solely using masculine energy, discipline, effort, pushing myself, structure. And there's a whole other side to this equation, the feminine side, intuition, flow, creativity, etc. And right now I'm like completely out of balance. And if I'm going to be a full spectrum human, if I'm actually going to be able to have a sustainable career in life, I need to learn the other side. And thus began a very deep and continuing to this day journey of, oh, what is feminine energy and how does it live inside of me? And how do I balance it with my more masculine traits? So end up spending a lot of time in Peru, actually, where you guys are. Actually, Cusco was one of my jumping points to go to the Sacred Valley and other places like that. And yeah, really humbled myself to realize that I think all of us come with a predisposition towards more masculine or feminine energy, and life will kind of force us, or at least strongly invite us, to cultivate the other side so we can be more balanced. And that's been very much a part of my journey for the past decade. Through that, I've also been coaching CEOs of companies one on one, and mostly helping them with their own mindset, their own leadership, but also that, like to balance their own energy so that they can be as effective and as sustainable in their work as possible. So, yeah, a million other things happen in between, but I'll leave it at that for now. That's kind of the overarching story of my life.
I love your share, and I feel that it's so connected to, well, one, our message at Sacred Business, but also like our personal beliefs that like we need to find this balance, right? And as you said, like some people they have way more the masculine, some people way more the feminine. And I'm just curious, like when did you realize that that was what was lacking? Like, you know, like because sometimes you kind of like, oh, I'm taking a lot of action, I'm doing this, and like you are successful. And then like how was like the when was the moment that you're like, oh, it's the feminine that's missing? Like what was the trigger in your life? Or if there was like a moment that you like you realized that what was the missing piece?
Yeah, there's a very specific moment, and it's pretty hardcore. One of my friends invited me to do a DMT ceremony, and for those who don't know, DMT is the strongest psychedelic in the world. I actually didn't know that until like 10 minutes before I left my house to go, and I Googled it, and I was like, "Oh my God, what did I sign up for?" So I went anyways, took a big dose. Actually didn't even have an experience in the moment. I kind of went beyond beyond the beyond. But when I came back, I ended up crying in the arms of a woman for like half an hour, just this flood of emotion coming through me. And then I went and journaled, and obviously I was still, not sober. And I started to journal, and like it just came through me, and I wrote like 5 pages on like, there's an easier way to succeed. I need to learn feminine energy. It's gonna be a whole journey. This is not gonna be easy, but it's gonna be worth it, and we got to do it. And so that was the moment, and that was one of those like you can't go back. Like my whole soul has shifted, and it's like okay, there's no choice now. We must do this.
Yes, yeah, that's good.
Hmm.
And I'm curious because yeah, I'm just curious along your journey. Like, and then when I saw, it was so cool when I saw you pop back up on Instagram because, like, yeah, you and I haven't stayed in touch over the last few years. But I know that this thing about being off social media for some time seems like it was significant to this process that you're going through. So I'm just curious. Just this is more for me personally, like
Hmm.
what that journey was like, and kind of how that kind of dovetails with this conversation.
For sure, for sure. And just as a side note before I answer, it's interesting because now I'm like on the other side, which is the like coming back to social media, and that's my whole journey right now. Like, "Ugh, how does this work? And how do I stay sane while I'll be on Instagram?" But back to the leaving Instagram part. I mean, for me, I've always believed like, so coming from an athletics background and a swimming background, there's this notion in endurance sports that you can't be at your highest level all the time. So when we see athletes at the Olympics, for example, and we see them like in their peak form, in order to achieve these amazing levels of performance, there's a chance that you could have seen them 3 months before while they're at a training camp in altitude and they're all broken down and they're exhausted. And on that day, you would have seen them, you would have been very unimpressed because they were like in that becoming process, and it's messy and it's tough. And in order to become extraordinary, you need to be able to like go into the depths and kind of break yourself down. And that's obviously the part we don't always see. And as you mentioned earlier, like Instagram culture is more about like, showing the highlights and what we're doing well, and kind of like, hello, this is me. And for me, there was just this deep feeling that's like, I need to like be in private for a while. And I need to go through my own process and not feel this pressure to share, to document, to do any of this stuff. And like, I just need to go into the rabbit hole, do my own thing, surround myself by good people, by nature, and just keep it simple. Because to go into the depth of the transformation process, like at the deepest level, it's hard enough as it is without having to deal with like all the external. So for me, it was a no-brainer. And experimented with like 1 month off social media at first. I was like, ooh, this feels kind of nice. Came back for like a week. Then I was like, I don't know. I think I was better without. Did a 3-month experiment. Then I came back for like 2 days. And then I was like, yeah, I'm done. And then I left for 8 years until like 2 months ago.
Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. Still kind of feeling into this one, but I'm here. Hello.
You should just come spend more time with us over here on Substack. It's a little bit of a more peaceful culture than over on Instagram. So this is where
Well, it's
we
so
live.
interesting because I've started like literally was listening to something yesterday and felt like the universe was pulling me into Substack. And literally, thanks to you, I created a profile to be here. And I'm like, okay, something's happening. Like it's pulling me in. So who knows?
Mhm.
Maybe this will be my home too.
Yeah. And I'm curious, another question I have for you related to that, because I'm assuming, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm assuming that like business hasn't stopped over the last 8 years. It sounds like you're still been coaching CEOs, which is a context that you were in when I first met you. And so often we have clients that they are negotiating this, and maybe they don't feel, or maybe there is some truth to the fact that they don't feel that they can completely kind of separate themselves from social business depending on their business. But I'm curious, like how you relate to how you've continued to grow your business, or keep that going, without having to use these tools, because there's so many people out there that'll tell you like this is the way, like this is the only way to do things. And I feel like perhaps that hasn't been true for you. So I'm just curious if you have anything that you might feel like sharing around that.
Totally. Well, honestly, I got to give a big shout out to God and the universe for this one, because the moment I left social media, the universe just kept bringing people my way at the perfect time in the perfect place. Like legitimately, it's one of the most magical things I've ever experienced in my life. This idea that we can be in service and, let's say I wanted 10 clients, for example, and that was the right number for me. If I had 10 clients and I felt full, I felt complete, no one would reach out to me. It would just be kind of steady state. And this happened honestly, like at least 10 times over this period. The moments someone would leave, we would complete our work together. And I'm like, oh, I don't have, I have space, but I don't have social media. I'm going to find a client within days, but more so within hours and sometimes minutes. I would get an email from like, hey, it's such and such. We used to play soccer together when we were 13 years old. I heard you do coaching. Would you like to work with me? I was like, yo, this is so crazy. And it just kept happening and happening and happening. I can't even explain it to this day. So that's why I'm like, shout out to God, shout out to the universe. Um, it's such a gift for me. And for that period, I really didn't need to be on social media because the right person at the right time always showed up. And I always had the perfect number of clients for this whole period.
It's nice. Do you relate any of this relationship to God and the way you were inviting more of the feminine energy into your life? It was. Do you
Yeah,
relate
well,
like that?
well, actually, now that you said, I'm like, oh, wow, that is a beautiful connection. Oh, this worked. To learn to receive and surrender. It worked. Oh my God.
Yeah, it was just like a very nice. You were like you said, like, oh, I need to invite more of the feminine, and then, well, the social media in general is very masculine, right? It's like the out there and constant action, like consistency and focus and messaging and all of that, and then you kind of like realize that, I don't know if it was even at the same time, but then you realize that like, oh, I can build a business from masculine only, but what if I could build from both? And then you cut a big part of the masculine in terms of like physical manifestation of the masculine, and then the energy, like just the feminine energy just flows. It was just like, for me, like, oh, that's so magical, like,
Of course, we need a woman to help see this connection. And you're completely right. That is precisely what it was. And learning like there's two ways to engage with life and to make love to life in a way. There's one that's very masculine, like I must go and like penetrate the world. And there's one that I can stay in my own energy, in my own frequency, in my own beauty, and let it come to me. And for me, that second one feels so much better, like and easier, and something I want to keep cultivating even as I'm back on social media and back playing a more masculine game. Like, let's not forget that both are possible and both can work.
Yeah. You also, like you shared with us that you are in this period right now that you're kind of like in the messy middle, like in the transition period of your life. And you said that you think it's also the best time when you think that you're like best handling, right? Like that you're more
Hmm.
like in your core. How do you relate that to those two energies? I'm just
Mm.
asking that because it's a lot of like what I try to help our clients with. Like we can't just create, because we have a lot of clients that have a lot of the feminine energy, and they're overflowing in the feminine, but then it lacks the masculine, like the
Hmm.
structure, like the focus, the action, the consistency. And we need both. And that's how I see balance. So can you just share a little more how you're navigating and how you relate that to both energies being more in alignment with where you are right
Hmm.
now?
I love when someone asks me a question and I don't have the answer. It's like it's forcing me to be like, whoa, I have never pondered this, but I will do my best right now. So yeah, I am in this kind of messy middle of like, I feel like a chapter is completing itself, a new one is opening up. But, it's like maybe like when you love a TV show, like one season ends, the next season doesn't start next week. It starts like next summer. And then you have to wait a few months and you're like, oh, I missed my show. Uh, it's like that. And so I'm in this kind of in between. One thing that has certainly helped a tremendous amount is like decoupling my own self-worth, my own self-love with my achievements. And so that can be hard, right? If we derive a lot of our just sense of self from like achieving, building, creating, this in between is like, who am I? Do I even matter? Do people still love me? And I've had a few things happen over the past few years that have forced me to confront that and realize, like, oh, yeah, my worth as a human is inherent to who I am. I am a child of God. I am beautiful, like just as I am. Ah, okay, I can chill. And then be in this in between, more from a space of curiosity and receptivity, like, hey, God, I'm here. I'm truly here to serve, to live my mission, to live my dharma. Please show me the way, and I will do it. And so I feel less a figure to a pressure to figure it out and to make it happen, and more like truly to be in this kind of state of like prayer of listening. It's not easy all the time, like, but I think that's a much more feminine quality. And then when I receive a little bit of guidance and it doesn't come all at once, like God will not download an entire 27-step business plan into your consciousness at once. They'll be like, here's one step. And then I think that's more the masculine, like, cool, thank you for that clarity. Let me go take courageous action, lean in, and then see what happens. And then
I
repeat day
love
after
that.
day after day.
Yeah, it's so powerful. Like if we can sit and ground ourselves in the just one step is enough. I think that's the balance, right? Like you receive and you take action. You receive and you take action instead of like needing to know like 47 steps, before taking the first
Hmm.
one.
Exactly. I call it the cosmic scavenger hunt. It's like when you're
Oh,
at
I
like
love that.
summer camp and you're like, go over there, and you find the clue and you're like, ooh, go over there. And like we
So
had so
good.
much fun with that. It was like the best game. Life is actually like that. We just need to learn that to play that game as an adult, because we're living life.
I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah.
And
Hmm.
yeah, and I love that you mentioned this kind of like self-worth and identity thing, which like this is a huge thing we talk about with our clients too, is like we help them create their business strategy, but then it's like, who do I have to be to stand in the center of this, and what needs to die, and what needs to come forth. And yeah, it can just be so hard. Like it was just taking, we've talked about this before. It was taking me back to when we started this business, and all these like fears and all these things that came up of like, I at the time was like kind of identified more as this like hardcore like digital marketer guy. And then I remember Carolina and I were on stage at this event in Austin, and like we're doing like meditations and all sorts of crazy stuff, and just the head get if you could have seen in my head at that moment, and like how I don't like public speaking anyway, but how unconfident I was on the inside, like trying to move through that is just like it's hard, and so like, just this, it's a real practice of letting yourself, I feel, be in that, messy thing. We use that phrase a lot, like let it be messy, because I feel there's so much gold and so much growth, to be found when you open yourself up to that. So yeah, I just love that you shared that.
Totally. And to build on what you just shared, like the messiness is also the dissolving of old identities. Like,
Hmm.
okay, at some point in time, you were this hardcore digital marketer guy, and then a year later, you're something else. And now you lead meditations on stage, and that's kind of weird, but it's kind of awesome too. And like, but to the ego, oh my goodness, it's super rough. So I think as we can just kind of chill and like appreciate that we are always evolving and transforming, and like back to a more feminine analogy, it's like there's this river of life that's flowing, and we're just flowing down the river. And our job is not to like hang on to the sides or try to paddle back upstream because, whatever, it was cool up there. It's like, no, it's guiding us somewhere and we're just along for the ride. And when we choose to trust, usually it works out pretty well. And I'm sure now you look at what you're doing and what you're creating, what you're experiencing, you're like, oh, thank God I surrendered to it. This is so much richer than, what I was doing 10 years ago.
Yeah, I love that. It looks like Corrine says here, messy, messy is being in the ooze. I like that. On your way to transfiguration. Yeah,
Oh,
thanks.
yeah.
Thanks, Corrine.
Whew.
Yeah. Um,
You know that feeling.
yeah, so that actually brings me to kind of our next question that we like to ask everyone is like one of the things that we like to convey to our audience is that like people have this feeling that like if there's fear or resistance, like that means like something has gone wrong. And like what
Mm,
we often are trying to share with people is that this is perfectly normal. And often it can be the sign that you're on the right path. And especially if you're looking to move forward with something that is really coming from the heart or really is your meaningful work and service. And so, yeah, I just love to ask you, you can relate to your past or maybe even what's going on now, just like maybe like what's one area that fear or resistance kind of rears its head in your life, and how do you personally keep work with that to kind of keep yourself moving forward?
Oh, my old friend, fear. Yeah, we know each other pretty well. And it's been literally a journey of 2 decades to master that relationship and to embrace it and to realize that fear is, part of the human experience. Like until we completely transcend our ego, which might not happen in this incarnation, like fears is part of it. But to really recognize that it's not a stop sign, it's not danger, it's just like a natural response of this kind of like human animal that we inhabit. Okay. And from there, for me, there's like something that really, really helps me, and then I'll kind of more directly answer your question is I have this idea in my mind of what I call green light theory. Green light theory goes like this. If there's a situation that makes me scared and excited, then it's a green light. I must go. And most of the best
Mhm, I
things
love
in
that.
life, I am excited, but I'm also scared. And I've trained myself, if those two feelings are present, I must do it. Like it's just it's like when the light turns green, you press the gas and you go forward. It's like that. So yeah, fear is there, but excitement too. And I think more specifically to answer what you shared is like for me, what's still difficult and what I'm still navigating literally like right now, maybe not right this second, but in my life generally, is I don't really know where I'm going. Like I generally can't tell you what I'm going to be doing a year from now professionally. Like it's unclear. I feel like it's being revealed like little bit by little bit. And for my ego, that is kind of terrifying. It's like, oh, will I really be helped? Will this really work out? And I know deep in my heart, and especially when I'm in meditation, I'm like, of course it's going to work out. Like it's worked out for 39 years. It's not going to stop now. But this uncertainty, this unknown, this lack of clarity is difficult for me. As an athlete, I love having a goal like, okay, the big race is in 3 months. Here's the training program. Here's how we're going to go about it. I can see the whole thing, and that really comforts me. But not like all life is like that. And so now more I'm in chapter, I'm like, I don't know, but maybe there can be beauty and joy in that too. So that's the dance I'm in.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Like we were participating at a retreat a couple of months ago, and I kind of had like a similar question to you, and I think maybe you're gonna resonate with that because it's funny how life keeps showing us that we are safe right? Like you
Mhm.
had so many proofs in your life, like you had no social media, probably you're like lost here in Cusco somewhere, and then
Mhm.
people would still find you. Right? You can hide, but like whatever you need comes your way when you're open.
Yeah.
And then even if you have like all the proofs in the world and life is always
Mhm.
showing you that, fear is always there. And that was the question for like the teacher. And I'm like, if I just look back, like I know I never had like anything lacking in my life. Everything shows up in
Mhm.
exactly the right time. But why this thing keeps showing up? Like why I still, doubt myself. And then his answer was so beautiful. Like he was like, you just need to keep moving from gathering to gathering. So it's like
Mhm.
when we are not in the present moment, and I'm like, oh yes, it's like we only face the fears or we only invite fear when we're like far ahead. Like when you think like in 1 year from now. And then you're just talking right now. I'm like, yeah, we have so many proofs that like life is perfect and it's like abundance all the time, but the mind keeps like protecting. And I just remember this because for me it was a huge realization. Like I try to bring myself to the present as much as I can, but often the mind goes crazy and you're like, okay, come back here. And that was his message. Like just move
Mm.
gathering from gathering, after lunch it's another gathering. And then you go to the bathroom, whatever, it's another gathering. And then you go to take a nap, it's another gathering. And if you keep just moving like this, then, there's never anything for you to worry about. And I'm like, oh, that was like powerful.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's interesting hearing that. I feel so inspired and I almost feel like crying as well because I'm like, it's so tragic. Like, I've been so blessed in my life and God has been so good to me again and again. And still, I don't trust.
That was my
Ah,
feeling too. I'm like, what
ah,
part of me that's like,
Me
I
too.
need
yeah. Like,
Shame
more?
I'm
on you.
so sorry. Ah. And I've thought about this a lot because I observe my own experience. Like, but why is it like this? And my theory on this is like we are kind of one of the first generations in human history, and like spanning hundreds of thousands of years, where it's like it's genuinely safe for us now. Like we are so lucky. Like here we are talking to this magical technology. We're all in these like relatively beautiful spaces, and all is well, and we can actually like start to relax. But even like going back 50 years ago, 100 years ago, I think about my ancestors here in Quebec, like winter is still kind of rough. And now we have like all the luxury and comfort in the world. My ancestors 100 years ago, 300 years ago, like to survive winter was heroic. It was literally harder than anything we do nowadays by, a long shot. And I think our nervous system just hasn't caught up. Like we are kind of that first generation where we're teaching our nervous system that like, oh, wow, I'm actually good. I'm actually good. But we can change our consciousness, and the consciousness is kind of like it's more like ether. It changes quick. But the body, the nervous system, it's dense. It takes longer to change. And that's what we're all trying to do. But yeah, it doesn't happen overnight and doesn't happen in ayahuasca ceremony. It takes a little while. So here we are. But we're changing that. And the more we do it, the easier we make it for all our brothers and sisters now and to come.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah,
We
Hmm.
and
have can you read that?
it's so hard to read on this thing. I think we came here to play our soul game, and for some action, we take with us a stubborn ego. Yeah, shame on us
That's
all
it.
for being human, I suppose. Yeah, we definitely
Well, and you're right,
have
and,
that.
and that the soul game, the challenge makes it fun, right? Like, because sometimes I'm like, dang it, like, why can't I just like the state of clarity and consciousness I experience, let's say in meditation or when I'm in nature, when I'm just like, oh my god, everything's so clear, it makes so much sense. Why can't I hang on to this? Why does like an hour later I get a text message? I'm like, fear, and I didn't know I didn't see the name of the person who wrote the message, but to your point, like that makes the game fun. If we were just blissed out all the
Boring, yeah.
time, we would have stayed in, whatever the spiritual place where we came before we incarnated, but we came here to make the game interesting and challenging. So yeah, well, here we are.
Yeah, I guess that's a nice way of seeing it. Like the reason why we keep having those things is because we're not ready to leave this plane, right? Otherwise, we would have been gone. Like, so,
Yeah.
like, let's have more fun here while we're like, you know, looking for more proofs or like just, yeah, just having more fun.
And laugh about it too, like we're doing right now. Like that's kind of healing to be like, oh my God, this freaking human game. It's like just hard enough that it's, keeps it interesting, but not too hard that we like don't want to play it. It's just right down the
Yes.
middle. So, all right,
Yeah.
I guess it's
Mhm.
perfect.
Yeah. It's so funny. We have this thing we say sometimes because, like, we'll have these conversations around like 3D, 5D, and all of this. And we'll say, like, how do you know you're supposed to be here? It's like, well, because you have a body. And that's it. And it's so simple if you think about it, but
For
it's like,
sure.
could also just go over your head in a way. But yeah, I wanted to actually go back to the thing you said about that. I love the term you used. I think you called it green light theory. Is that
Yep.
what you label it? Yeah, I'm curious how you came to that understanding because it very much so mirrors my experience. Like I have the same thing, and I've had this. I used to have a lot of chronic pain. It's something I've been able to move past at this point, which is beautiful. But I've had this experience of pain, and I started to notice around fear how I would feel this like fiery, like kind of tickle in my chest, and there was just this subtle distinction between pleasure and pain in a sense. And I started to I don't I'm just curious to hear how you could verbalize this if you can, because at some point it just clicked for me that this was kind of to your point, like when I would feel this come up as a fear, this was the thing to follow. And I began to start to kind of like recast that as almost like a friendly little tickle. And when I would feel this like friendly little tickle in my chest, it was almost exactly as you described. It was like, oh, there's that tickle. Let's go. Like this is the thing. This is the
Hmm.
next thing I've got to go for. And I would say that in my own personal journey, that's been one of my most powerful reflections. And yeah, so I'm just curious if you have any more of how you came to that understanding for yourself.
Hmm. For sure. Well, I think anybody like us who's trying to create things and expand, we're gonna confront fear very quick on the journey. Like, oh, you get invited to a cool looking party where you don't know anybody. Like, oh my God, that sounds so cool. But I don't know anybody. Oh my God. And then like fear comes up. It's like, okay, well, the only way I'm gonna go to this party and have this experience is I must go through the fear. And oh, I want to build a business, but I've never done it before. But if I do it, I could be free and not have to get a job. Wow, that's so exciting. But then, what if I fail? So it's like we have all these experiences very quickly. Like we notice that fear is part of the equation. And for me, specifically, something I've done literally every morning for now 15 years to help me retrain my relationship with fear is take a cold shower. And initially, that was a way to get off caffeine for other reasons. But I quickly realized that if I like even this morning, I took 15 years times 365, like, I don't know, maybe 5,000 cold showers I've taken to this day. And every morning I go and I'm like, oh, and there's a part of me that's scared. There's a part of me that doesn't want to do it. But having taken, a few thousand of those, I know that once I go through the fear, it takes about 5 seconds once I'm in cold shower where my brain chemistry goes from like pain to pleasure. And I go from like, oh my God, this is so cold to like, I'm so freaking alive. And then, stay there for 30 seconds, turn it off, and then I feel amazing for the next 4 hours. So the trade-off is I need to go through this fear and I need to go through it for 5 seconds, and I have 4 hours of increased energy on the other side. It's like the best deal in the world. And most things with fear are like that. The cost is much
Mhm.
lower than the reward, but you got to pay the cost up front to get the reward. And so now I've had enough experiences. It's like, okay, I feel the fear, but on the other side, it's gonna be so cool and exciting. Yeah, let's freaking do it. Like it's a no-brainer.
I love that because I don't think I've had the thought the way I had right now. And when you feel like things get in your brain the way you said it, it's because I have this thing too. Like if I fear, like I know I need to go and I need to take action. And it's the mix between fear and excitement as you shared, but the sense of aliveness is so wonderful when you do
Mm-hmm.
that, right? That it compensates like I don't know if compensation is the thing, but it's the reward, but it's yeah, like the facing your fears bring aliveness in a way that I don't think any other thing brings. Like when you go and you were not in that situation of
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know what's next. Or, like this is just like even like coming to like a new country or a new city or like a new business or like a new relationship, like everything is so new. And then there's always this fear of like, I don't know what's gonna happen. But then the aliveness that we feel in the body, and I've done cold showers for like many months. And then I stopped after 6 or 7 months. But But the feeling of it, like the way you described, was so perfect. Like it feels so good. It feels so like life and giving and exciting, and yeah, takes. I'm just kind of like reconnecting my dots here. So thanks for
Hmm.
that.
Yeah, you're welcome. So once we see that clearly, fear is something, and also like fear is just a sensation in the body. Like it's
Yes.
not actually dangerous. And once we can observe that, it's like, oh, I feel fear, I feel nervousness. Okay, like no big deal. It's just a sensation. It has no real power over me. So I hope that everyone here, and I'm sure everyone here, has started to cultivate this relationship with fear so that it's like, it's something that we experience, it's something that's part of our reality, but it doesn't have power over us. And then we're free.
Yeah, it's liberating. Absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, another question I wanted to ask you, Phil, is one of the things as we all navigate the modern world and social media, AI, like all this stuff, like, I think one of the biggest challenges creators often face is how to kind of maintain and create like authentic, meaningful connections while they're in kind of service of sharing their message. And so I'm just curious, like over your path and, some aspects of your path have been a little bit non-conventional. Like what has your approach been to connection? What place does that play in your business? And yeah, what advice might you have for someone who's trying to share what they offer? Yeah, more consistently.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I'll start by saying I'm feeling genuine, heartfelt connection with both of you through technology right now. So it works. Go technology. And on the other side of the coin, for me, I really try to have a lot of good social juice in real life, like all the time. And I'm a huge fan of what I call micro connection. And micro connection is like I go for a lot of walks around my town and I always like say hi to people, wave to my neighbors, have a little chit chat, like, hey, how's your dog? Cool, have a great day. And I found that I get very nourished by these tiny little interactions. Just a smile, a wave, a little 1 minute conversation. And that's like a dose of, I don't know, like serotonin to my soul, love to my heart. And that kind of rebalances us. Like, yeah, okay, the online stuff is interesting and I don't want to villainize it, especially now that I'm back on social media. But let's not forget that our nervous system will always respond probably more and more deeply to what we experience in real life because that's how we're designed. And let's make sure that we make an effort to nourish ourselves that way because I don't know, the connection we get exchanging text messages or comments, it does something for us, but it's not, I don't want to say it's not the real thing because it's real, but it doesn't totally fill up our cup, you know?
Mhm.
Um, so let's make sure that we have a healthy balance at the very least, and let's not forget the real world because, yeah, it's beautiful.
It's such an important reminder because, well, we teach people like how to build online business. And sometimes I feel that people, even for strategy, not even for the everyday life, people are so focused on how do I do this online, right?
Hmm.
But they forget the energetics of the whole business, like is also building person, right? So like, hey, go talk to your neighbor about what you're doing. Even if your neighbor is not a client, go talk to, go to the supermarket and talk to people about what you're doing. Whatever it is, it's just like this in-person connection that I feel that the online world sometimes make us forget that exists. And it's necessary too, like as you said, like the cup will never be filled with just one, right? Like right now we have both, so we need to kind of like try to use both our advantage.
Hmm. And to make sure you do the things offline that fill your soul, that jazz
Yeah.
you up. When you, let's say, you go have a great dinner with friends on a Wednesday night and it's fun, it's connecting, and you laugh, and you just come home, you're like, oh my God, wow, that was so nice. You literally fall asleep with a smile on your face. Guess what? Thursday morning, when it's time to work, you're going to be so much more full and
Yeah.
clear and just inspired because your cup is full. And we've also tried to work, all of us at some point, you sit down when you're empty and you try to create on your computer when you're like empty. It's terrible. Either it's not going to work or you're going to produce something mediocre. So for me, it's always this process of like filling myself up and then like not depleting myself, but like pouring myself into creation, filling myself up, pouring myself into creation again and again and again, and make sure that the wheel's always turning that way.
Mm.
Mhm.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah, I love that. And what are you able to see any sort of connections there with kind of how these practices and even the joy and the fun and all of this, like how how you built your network, because to me, like it's phenomenal. And yes, we connection with God and all this, but like, can you see from more of the practical side, like how any of this is connected with your ability to build your business, or not? There's no right answer, but I'm just curious about what part it's played in the business side of things for you.
I think the thing that comes to me right now is just like for my whole business journey, I've had a few really close friends who've been, in their own entrepreneurial
Mm,
journeys, and we've been like allies on the path and very close to each other. And Mark would be someone that I would put in that bucket where it's been
mhm,
like span over a decade. So, for whoever is listening or even for ourselves, like who are those, five people that are in our inner circle? They're doing something similar, or maybe they're not, but they're just like our soul allies. And to really keep nourishing those relationships. Like for me, I don't have like that big of a network, I could say, but I have a few really, really good friends. And I think I take really good care of those friendships. And I think the
mhm,
people close to me would agree. So it's like, I don't know, we only have so much social bandwidth, all of us. I'm a fairly introverted person. Definitely like need a lot of alone time and all this. So I can't be texting 50 people consistently. Like that's impossible for me. But I have enough juice to keep like 5 to 10 really good relationships and to show up in a way that when they get a text from me, they're like, "Wow, that was so sweet," or like, "Wow, that was so thoughtful." So, we're all different, but my invitation is just for all of us to have a sense of like how many relationships we can really honor and not to try to go that far but beyond that. But those 5 to 10 people, man, they're so useful in our journey. Like it's like, I don't know, they're like angels in our lives, really.
yeah, and that's so cool, and that really connects back to the beginning of this conversation, because I often say this, and is why I'm so genuine when I share my gratitude to you. Like I can go back to the event where we met at Boulder. You introduced me to Mark Angelo. I ended up joining his superhero academy, going on retreat in Costa Rica. And then from there, this whole group of relationships kind of blossomed and flourished. Rye Schwartz. So me and Rye
Hmm.
became like business partners for 3 years, which kind of preceded like this business now with Sacred Business. And just those relationships, similar to you, like it's not like hundreds and hundreds of people, but it's just like that well is deep, right? And the
Hmm.
connections with those people. And so, yeah, I totally, I totally mirror and echo your experience of the importance of this, and making the time to nurture this. And I think this is like also like kind of the mythology of the internet, right? It's like I often tell people, like people come online and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna come on to Substack and get my first client," and I'll say, like, the reality of the situation is like your first client is probably like way closer to you than that.
Hmm.
It's through the neighbor, through the person that you met at the coffee shop. It's like, and then from there things start to ripple out, and then as you kind of start to build the business, and things expand, and then the online world becomes kind of an amplifier for what you're creating in real life. But I feel that oftentimes people get that backwards, and they're just staying in this little bubble, and I think it limits them in many ways. So yeah, thank you for
Hmm.
sharing your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
totally hear you. And at the end of the day, like all life is balance, right? Balance between
Hmm.
online and offline, masculine and feminine, work and play, rest and creation, et cetera, et cetera. So anytime we go too far in the extreme, like, oh, I'll only live online. Yeah, that's probably not going to work out. Like, go see your neighbors. Go hug your mom.
Yeah. Cool. Well, before we wrap up here, I want to just give a little bit of time. I don't know if there's anything you feel called to share about where you're heading with your work. If there's, if anyone has heard anything they've been inspired by on this conversation, if there's anything you'd like to share for them to check out. Where I know you're new on Substack. I don't know if you have any commitment to being here, if that was just you being generous to be here with us. But anywhere that people can connect with you that you might want to share, we'd love to do that. And we share this replay out afterwards, and we'll make sure people get anything that might make sense.
Yeah, well, to be honest, as we're having this conversation, I made a mental. I'm like, I must understand what Substack really is, because just from what I'm feeling here, it's like, and I was literally on it last night for like kind of the first time. I was like, huh, like this actually feels nice. It feels like more sane and more chill than like when I'm like literally I've like come back to Instagram and I'm sharing, but I legitimately cannot go on Instagram myself. My brain will not let me. So you know, I'm on Instagram right now, but Substack might be my new home. I'm curious just to hear from you while we're here. Is like, how would you describe Substack, and what does it represent for you as a platform compared to the other, you know, ones that we all know about?
Yeah, so it's interesting. It was a little bit of luck. It was about this time last year, October of last year. A friend, a fellow marketer on Facebook posted something and he was like, Substack's awesome. It's a super calm, chill place to be. And it's a happy community. You should check it out. And something clicked that I should do that. And at the time, you know, this business was, well, we were about a year in. We had about 1,200 subscribers. Most of that was just like kind of carryover from relationships from past relationships and things like this. And I don't know, it just instantly clicked. And, you know, we've been really fortunate. Like we've grown to almost 17,000 subscribers in the last year on Substack. And really, to me, at the heart of what makes it different is it does feel like community. It really feels like genuine connection. It doesn't feel, I'll be honest, it's changing a little bit as more and more people come across it, but it doesn't feel as much like posturing. And it's really a full creators platform, right? Because you own your subscribers. So versus something like Instagram where you're completely at the mercy of the algorithm. When people join you on Substack here, you actually get their email. You can communicate with them through other channels. It's definitely a community that values long form more than just popcorn TikTok style stuff that kind of makes your brain rot sometimes. So yeah, it's just it's been a beautiful thing, for us. And yeah, I'm happy to share more with you, offline if there's anything we can do to support you, if it's something you want to explore more. But
Totally.
it's been probably the biggest driver for us in the last year in terms of our ability to reach people and try to create impact in the way that we can. So
amazing. Well, I
yeah.
feel like this is a sacred moment for me to be here on Substack. I'm like, oh, this feels so good. And I remember a few years ago, I was trying to move to California. I didn't know where I was going to move. And I just got in my car from Colorado, drove to San Diego. I was like, no, this is not it. Drove to LA. I was like, definitely not it. And then I went up to Santa Barbara. I was like, oh, hopefully it's it. And I was like, no, it's not it. And someone was like, have you checked out Ojai? And I went up to Ojai. And for those who know, it's like this little mountain town, 90 minutes of LA. And I was like, yes, this is it. And I feel like since I've come back to social media, I went on Instagram. I'm like, no. I went on Facebook. I was like, no. And then people were like, but you should try TikTok. I was like, there's no way it's TikTok. Like, there's just no way my destiny is to be a TikToker. And now I'm like, ooh, maybe it's Substack. That actually feels good. So thank you
Try
for
it,
introducing me to this.
yeah. Try it on for size, see what you feel. But yeah, we will. We'll link. We create the replay, and it'll have all the notes from our conversation. And actually, because we do it here on Substack, you'll get connected to it. So you'll get an alert when that. You'll get an alert like when right after this that the recording is live. But we actually produce a kind of like a nicer recap. So if you want to wait for that, you'll see kind of what it looks like. And yeah, this is our favorite thing to do, is to jump on and have these kind of conversations. Like if a week goes by and we don't have one of these conversations, I definitely feel like something's lacking in life. So yeah, thank you again for being here with us. It's been really good to reconnect, and yeah, hopefully we can continue to talk more. What do we have here before we wrap? Is a Corinne. Oh, completely coincidence. Love the conversation. Sorry, guys. Substack feels good, but where to start? Still some hesitation for quite an uncommon business. I'll reach out to you for a 30-minute appointment next week. Awesome, Corinne. Yeah, we would absolutely love to support you if we can. So definitely reach out. And and thank you again, Phil. It's the meeting of the Phils. I almost forgot. It's so fun when so good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you again.
Well, thank you for having me. And for anybody listening, feel free to follow me on Substack. My guess, if I feel to my intuition, is I will start to post here. And if you follow me now, you'll be from day one, because this is literally day one of me being on Substack. So thank you so much.
So
That was very nice, Phil.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
super
just
fun.
don't. If I have one thing, it doesn't sound like you're going to do it, but if I have one favor, don't delete your account right after. We had Derek Sivers on this show, and he joined. He joined just to do this interview with us. But he
Uh-huh.
was like, "I'm not staying on Substack. I'm super private," and he deleted his Substack account before we could get the replay up, and so we lost the whole thing. So anyway, it's just a funny story. It was such a feat that we were able actually to get him onto the thing, and then
Totally.
if on our Substack, you could see we have this funny story about like the interview that actually happened that didn't happen, But anyway, that's just hopefully we'll be
I'm not
seeing you here
leaving.
more.
I'm doubling down, baby. I'm gonna go write my first post. I'm coming in.
There you
So
go.
awesome, my friend.
Very
All
nice
right,
to
Awesome.
meet you, Phil.
All right.
we'll
Much
talk
love,
to you
guys.
soon.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye,
Ciao.
everybody.